Hello, fellow members of the Midnight Society. Welcome back to another episode review from the show Are You Afraid of the Dark? Last time, we wrapped up Season 1 with a Gary story about a teen who gets trapped in a pinball game after breaking his word. Tonight, we begin Season 2 with a tale from Kristen, and if you've watched my reviews of The Tale of the Hungry Hounds and The Tale of the Prom Queen from Season 1, you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of her stories, but I am hoping to have that opinion changed with tonight's narrative about a young girl whose obsession with fairy tales leads to a living nightmare. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this Season 2, Episode 1, The Tale of the Final Wish. We open on Kristen reading to David from a book of fairy tales. Sorry, from the book Fairy Tales. I know the book is titled that to clue the audience in on what she's reading, but somehow I can't help but think how difficult it must have been to check that out of the library. Excuse me, I'm looking for the Fairy Tales book? Of course. Which one? Fairy Tales. Yes, but which book of Fairy Tales? Fairy Tales. I understand, but what is the name of the book? Fairy Tales. What are we, Abbott and Costello? Frank shows up and starts belittling the idea of fairy tales. Kristen and David explain that original fairy tales are actually very dark. This point is backed up by Gary and Betty Ann as they arrive. In fact, Betty Ann tells the group about her favorite fairy tale.
The one where the old woman kidnaps the prince and puts blood on the queen's mouth while she sleeps to make the king think she ate him.
That's my favorite storyteller right there. I'm so proud. And yet somehow I just don't think Kristen's tale is going to live up to that. Kiki arrives sharing Frank's opinion about fairy tales, prompting Kristen to explain the premise of her tale. A young girl who was obsessed with fairy tales and make-believe began to forget the difference between reality and fantasy. Hang on a second. There's something about this episode's bothering me. I mean, something other than the fact that David looks like he went through a growth spurt while everyone else stayed the same age. You know what it is? It's bothering me that the character who bothers me isn't here. That's right. Eric is suspiciously missing.
Ta-da!
What's strange is that it's not mentioned at all. In later seasons, characters will leave the show, getting replaced by others, but it's at least usually addressed in some way, stating that they moved away or something. The fact that they don't mention Eric at all can mean only one thing. The gang finally had enough of his crap, murdered him, and buried him in the woods nearby. And if that's the case, well, I think you all know what needs to happen. Celebrate good times, come on! Our tale begins on a woman sweetly offering the viewer an apple. She says that we must take a bite, for if we don't, she'll have to
force you to eat it!
What the hell was that? The turn from a young mother offering a snack to a drunk aunt wearing way too much makeup. I mean, I get the Snow White reference, but shouldn't she have turned from the second thing into a hag or something? I mean, the scene's gonna stick with me, but for all the wrong reasons. It's revealed that this is just a nightmare that our main character Jill was having after falling asleep reading Snow White. She reaches for a glass of water and, finding it empty, starts to get out of bed, pausing to check if there's anything lurking underneath it. Finding nothing, she mutters to herself that she needs to grow up. It was during this scene that I noticed a curious name pop up in the credits. What is Bobcat Goldthwait doing in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I mean, I suppose if you want to give children nightmares, that is a way to go.
Thank you very much!
We cut to a few minutes later where Jill is returning to her room with a glass of water. She goes to get in bed, but this time some hands grab her legs from underneath it. This, of course, causes her to scream and run to her parents' room, waking them up, which prompts the following response from her mother.
Oh, Jill, not again!
Her parents go to her room, and her dad pulls this little maneuver while checking under the bed. Real nice. Look, you can't get upset when she runs screaming into your room if your solution to her being afraid is pretending to be grabbed by something that isn't there. Anyway, her dad finds a plate of old food under her bed, and honestly, it didn't really get the reaction I was expecting. It sort of played off as a joke, proving what I already knew. These are bad parents. Classic Are You Afraid of the Dark? Jill's brother shows up, pretending like he got woken up by the commotion, but as soon as the parents go back to bed, he reveals that he's the one who grabbed her. He berates her for being a 13-year-old who still believes in the boogeyman, leaving Jill rather upset. Bad parents and a jerk brother? Something terrible doesn't happen to these people by the end of the story, I'm going to be extremely put out.
Get used to disappointment.
The next morning, Jill's parents are shouting upstairs for her to hurry up, implying that she's routinely late. Jill finally comes downstairs and apologizes to her mother, letting just a bit of that Canadian accent slip.
I told you I'm sorry.
Her mom tells her that everyone else in the house is getting tired of putting up with her childishness. Lady, she's 13, which last time I checked is still a child. She's probably only like 7th or 8th grade. If you can't handle her spending too much time in the bathroom in the morning now, just wait till she's in high school. We cut to the school library where Jill picks up a copy of The Sandman and Other Tales. Wait, so the fairy tale books in the story get actual titles, but in reality they're just labeled fairy tales? Oh, Canada. We see two girls sitting at a table staring blankly at something in the distance. It's revealed that they're supposed to be staring longingly at a guy standing at the card catalog, but something about this scene just doesn't feel right. You know what? I know how to fix it.
Never seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight.
And you know this guy's fly because he's wearing a shirt and tie with jeans and a backwards baseball cap. I mean, not that I can really throw shade considering how I dressed in the 90s. That's right. Drink it in. Drink it all in. Jill tells the girls they're being too obvious, and when she goes to sharpen her pencil, they start going through her backpack having a laugh at her book selection. Then they notice the guy takes a glance at Jill, which enrages both of them, causing them to do the following when he comes to the table to ask Jill about a class assignment.
This what you're supposed to read?
Hey,
These are really interesting.
You reading these?
Excuse me, garçon? Petty, party of two? Hold up. There is no way this guy knows what the Sandman is to be all shocked by it. At that point, he might as well just be shocked that she's reading books. Of course, the girls pull a troll doll out of her bag, which doesn't help her case, and if Homeboy's attire doesn't date this episode, the troll doll absolutely does. Jill gets embarrassed and takes off, leaving her troll doll and one of her books at the table, which I thought was going to come back up again later, but it never does. We cut to night again and get some voiceover from Kristen about how Jill knows she's being childish, but doesn't want to give up the world of fairy tales because everyone always lives happily ever after there. Jill then starts dreaming that the boy from the library, now dressed like a prince, is standing by her bed. And since nothing says romance like creeping over a sleeping girl, he says the following.
I've come to awaken you, sleeping beauty.
Jill opens her eyes, but instead of seeing her teen lover, she sees... It's revealed to be her brother wearing a mask. What is this guy's damage? It's one thing to hear your sister going for water and sneak into her room for a quick scare, but she was asleep. Were you just standing there in the mask waiting for her to wake up? That is sick, Kristen. Sick. Not I can't even. Sick.
It's sensitive.
You know, they keep calling her childish, but I'm seeing a pattern here with the rest of the family. Next time they call her childish, she should just hit him with this.
You alright? I learned it by watching you.
If do right, no can defense. Jill is understandably angry at her brother. After chasing him out of her room, she looks out at the stars through her bedroom window while holding a copy of The Sandman and Other Tales. She asks what's wrong with wanting to live in a world where dreams come true and you can wish on a star. Oh, well, this is it. This is where it happens. This is the final wish. Right here? Yes! Yes! Please let it be a death wish. Please, oh please, 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 please.
and I wish everybody would just leave me alone.
That's it? Really? I mean, I guess that can be twisted into something, but you're not really given whatever evil entity is at play here much to work with. Later that night, a metronome in Jill's room starts up. It wakes her up, and she's about to look under the bed when something startles her from behind. It's her brother again, but he looks like he's sleepwalking this time. She jumps out of bed, goes to the door, telling him to leave, but when she turns back, he's gone. Okay, Kristen, good creepy start. Can we keep it going? Jill goes to her parents' room, but finds the bed empty. She then goes to the top of the stairs and calls down for them, but no answer. She goes back to her room where the metronome is still eerily ticking back and forth. Ooh. Kristen, I'm liking what I'm seeing. You've built up the suspense. Bring it home. Jill sees movement under her bed. She thinks it's her brother playing another trick and boldly lifts the bed skirt up to find...
Hi there!
Kristen, can we talk? I mean, while finding Bobcat Goldthwait under my bed would be terrifying, this reveal was not. Like, all the tension in the scene was just completely negated with...
Hi there!
Jill tries to flee the room, but is sucked under the bed into what looks like the inside of a giant sandworm. She lands in a carnival funhouse filled with clocks, and As she looks around, she sees a bunch of sleeping people floating in midair before entering a room with a giant metronome and hourglass. It's here that she meets...
Isn't it obvious? I'm the Sandman!
You know, my final wish would be that I could show you her whole interaction with Bobcat. I mean, the Sandman, because it is laughably terrible. Please, please, find this episode and watch it for yourself. I can't possibly explain with words how much this took a good premise and completely ruined it.
Oh, alright, you're no fun!
Jill attempts to get answers out of the Sandman, but he speaks to her in riddles that I assume are passages from the book she checked out. Also, what is with the purple silk pajamas? It looks more like a pedophile than a bringer of dreams. Wait, maybe that's it. Maybe she's not dreaming, but has been kidnapped by this psycho who murdered her family and now she has to kill or be killed. Yes! No. Stupid. This was a kid's show that aired on Nickelodeon. It's just Bobcat, Sandman, and purple PJs.
At your service?
The Sandman tells Jill that she's in the land of Nod, where people go to dream. She doesn't believe him at first, but he explains that she made a wish while holding his book, so it came true. Is that how that works? I wish to be the Dread Pirate Roberts.
As you wish.
Thank you, Carrie, wherever you are. Jill says she wants to go home, but the Sandman tells her that's not how her story ends, and fairy tales cannot be changed. He also reveals that he's keeping her family, and that they'll never bother her again. Bobcat has a minor moment of genuine menace as Jill runs away, trying to get back to where she entered the land of Nod. There's no way out, but she finds a door. Behind it is a room filled with other doors. She tries the door and finds the Red Queen from Wonderland there, ready to chop off her head. Another door has the witch from Hansel and Gretel behind it, and while her makeup looks pretty good, her costume looks like it came off the bargain rack at a Halloween store. Though, if I'm being honest, it's still far more intimidating than the Sandman's sex pajamas. Jill tries another door, but finds more floating dreamers, including one of the girls from the library, the backwards hat guy, her brother, and her parents. While most of the floating effects have been pretty good, you can clearly see the arm holding her brother up here. You won't often hear me say this, but this scene could have used more fog. Jill breaks down, crying out that this isn't what she wished for. The Sandman taunts her, prompting her to go through yet another door, leading her back to the room with the hourglass. She threatens to break the hourglass if the Sandman doesn't send her home. He tells her he can't because fairy tales can't be changed. Jill threatens again, prompting the Sandman to take drastic measures.
This isn't the way your fairy tale's supposed to end, but if you insist on being foolish, I'll have to put you to sleep too!
This causes Jill to smile as she has outwitted Bobcat Goldthwait. It's really not as impressive when I say it out loud. Knowing that the Sandman can change the fairy tale after all, she realizes it's her dream and that she can change it too. Jill shatters the hourglass, sending her back home and causing her to wake up screaming, which seems inappropriate for a victory, but that's so Jill. Jill's parents come to investigate the scream, asking what happened, and Jill gives a response that would probably get her admitted for a psychiatric evaluation.
It was a dream.
Jill tells her family that she knows she's been a pain and that it's time for her to give up silly fairy tale stuff. Her mom replies,
That's fine, honey. Just don't give up on the kid inside altogether, okay?
What? Who is this person and what have you done with her actual mother? At least her dad was keeping it real.
I'm never gonna get back to sleep.
Jill goes back to sleep before we see a breeze blow in through her open window. It opens the copy of The Sandman and Other Tales while Bobcat gives some almost unintelligible voiceover.
The little girl went back to sleep, promising never to believe in fairy tales again. If only she knew, she would have never gone back in that bed again.
Kristen ends her tale by saying not to take fairy tales too lightly because you never know which ones are made up and which ones are real. Frank then takes Kristen by the hand and asks,
Where's the part about the kids getting their heads chopped off?
Now for the review. Kristen. Premise was good. What happened? The idea of being trapped inside a nightmare is a great one and something that almost everyone can relate to. It's part of the reason the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was so successful. Well, that and Freddy's catchy quips.
Let's get high.
This had a couple of really solid moments of tension, but the moment the antagonist appeared on screen, it all went out the window. The budget, I think, also was a major factor in this episode. The Land of Nod just looked cheap, like high school stage production cheap. It was also very bright. I think darker lighting would have gone a long way to selling the Land of Dreams as a nightmare plane, reflecting Jill's feelings about being there. And it's not like they don't know how to light a scene. The shots in Jill's house when she wakes up alone were lit perfectly. The music also didn't do the story any favors. It had a light, fairy tale quality to it while in the Land of Nod, and then it got big and boisterous when she was fleeing, but it never added any emotion or intensity to the scenes. They also tried to use ticking clocks to add atmosphere, which I think would have worked if they just would have removed the music. Silence and ticking clocks would be super creepy after being sucked into another world under your bed. There have been a couple of stories that weren't so good but redeemed themselves with a twisted ending. This had that too, but it didn't feel earned.
I don't know who you're dealing with.
Anyway, younger me might have started off finding this one scary, but he would have pissed himself laughing about halfway through.
God, come on, man, act your age.
The acting in this episode had some extreme highs and lows. Jill was super strong, which can be a rarity on this show. She was a regular scream queen, but I at least believed her fear with each and every shriek. She was naive and innocent when it called for it, but she even had tears in her eyes when she just wanted to escape the Land of Nod with her family. Honestly, probably some of the best child acting I've seen on the show so far. Her brother John was also fine, but he had very little screen time. I'm talking like adult actor screen time, but he played the annoying older brother well. The other kids in the episode, like the library girls and the backward hat guy, had so little screen time that I'm not even going to talk about them.
Yeah, right.
The adult actors, with one exception, were fine. Jill's parents don't have much to do, but they presented themselves as believably fed-up working parents of 2 teenage kids. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the Bobcat in the room. Look, I like Bobcat in specific comedic roles. Whoever thought he would make a good villain on a kid's horror show should have been fired. He is so miscast in this role that it ruins the whole episode for me. Now, it does make it so bad that it's sort of fun. Like, when you're watching The Room or pretty much any Nicolas Cage movie. I don't blame Bobcat here. I blame whoever robbed the props and set budget to hire him. Kristen, I really hope that one day I will fully enjoy one of your stories, and it might seem like I'm off base here, but tonight's tale does not meet the approval of the Midnight Society.
Well, you're a tad off base, sir.
What did you all think of Kristen's story? Did you see it as a kid? What were some of your favorite tales from the series? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out the next episode about the tale of the Midnight Madness. Until next time, are you afraid of the dark? Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and a share. Be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified when more Midnight Society episodes go up. And we've got a ton of other cool shows on the channel, so stick around. You might find something else that you like.